Hey guys, so here we are back and we're going to start altering some of these platforms. So you can see here we've got our floor done, we've got our background, and we've got these normal boring platforms that we had in place. So one thing we could do, so say we've got ledge, we'll call it ledge number 17 over here. I like platforms better, so I'm going to rename this. We're going to rename that plat. Because hey, it's a platformer, so why aren't we calling them platforms? But we've got this one over here, right? And we're gonna change one just so I can show you guys how to change it. If you just want a non-movable platform that is stationary and doesn't move, so I'll change this one over here, and I'm going to use the same that I used for the floor, but it's going to be smaller. And we might do, say, a desert or dirt or darker landscape later, which is why we've got these ones here for a level 2. You can see here I can change this over here by using the sprite tool, floor, and that is sprite number 2. So adding that in there, and like we demonstrated before, it's going to come in tiny because hey, it's pixel art. It's actually quite small. And then what I'll do is bring that up, make it a bit bigger, and we actually have our platform there that we're going to use. And I actually generally will take that over the top of another platform to double check the size of it as well. So I've got my platform there, and that one's not going to move. So we'll leave that there, that's fine. Number 17, we'll rename that to... Where's rename at? Edit. Rename. Stationary _ platform. Alright, so we'll keep the stationary platform. We might delete a few of these, and we're going to work on the one that our little ninja blue dude's on. Alright, that'll like that guy. And we're going to add a blueprint to this. We're going to select that. Alright, so at the moment we've got this just here. We want to add a event graph. So what we're going to do for this is firstly we need to add some variables. We're not actually going to need this. We might use it later down the track, but we're not going to use our event actor begin overlap until that time. So a couple of variables we need to make. So first variable we're going to make is our location variable. Okay, and that is going to be a vector type. Next, what we're going to do is create a start variable, which is going to be a float. And then finally, we're going to open up that eye as well. So we've got that public. And the final one we're going to have is move, so true or false, and that's going to be a boolean because that is true or false value. Okay, so when we begin play, we want to locate our platform and we want to tell it to move, right? So the first thing we're going to do here is not do that, because it's going to be easier if we just go over here and we're going to set our location, because we're going to find this is the first thing we're going to do. And the first thing we're going to do as well is get actor location. Okay, so we've got this guy here that we're setting. Okay, this may or may not work as well, and I might have to change some things by we might keep the same code because we are using our ledge 4 blueprint, which is an asset. So we'll see if that makes difference, unless we can get asset location. And it says get asset pack location. Well, we'll give this a go, see how it works. So we've done that. The next thing we're going to want to do is delay that. We're going to add a delay, but a delay is not going to be for very long because we're going to set it to when we start. Okay, so we're going to get start from that. Okay, cool. The final thing is we actually need to set this then as moving. So if I get our move node, we're going to set move, and we're going to set that as moving. Okay, so now we've set up that basic real little bit of code that's getting our actor location, getting it to start, and saying that it's moving. Okay, now for the bit that's a little bit more difficult. Alright, so we're going to set this with a branch after our tick node. So tick is, I think, every 0.01 of a second, and we're using that time to make our platform move. So as part of that, for our branch being a true, we're going to set our condition to move. Okay, after that, the first thing to do, because we're saying first thing, is we need a sequence. the very first thing we want it to do is actually apply a timeline, which is what's going to make it move. Okay. Add timeline. So we've got a timeline here. Always does that. It tries to grab everything every time. I don't know why. So I've got a timeline there. I can double click on this, and this is where we're going to start messing with our timeline. Now, our location is on our... Oh, I don't have any light on my face. Our timeline is working off a vector track. So, a vector. So, we call that platform. Cool. A vector. So we've picked a vector track. And we're naming it platform and pressing enter. So we're going to add a couple of points on this. Because mine is an up and down platformer, we're going to lock our X and Y axes. The Z axis for this, which I don't actually know why, because math tells us that Y is that way, X is that way. The Z axis on this is actually up and down when we make our platform, so I'm using it that way. So if I right click, I need to add a point into this timeline. It's going to be 0 and the value is going to be 0. So the time is saying 0 seconds, something's going to happen. The value 0 seconds is nothing's actually happening, okay? And the length of this is over 5 seconds. You can change that if you want your platform to move slower or quicker. I'm going to stick with 5 just for the ease of this tutorial. I'm going to now right click and add another key. So this is the next one on from that, and we want it to, we want the time to move, so we're going to go halfway. Alright, and the value is going to be 100. And I'm going to press enter. Okay, so now what I'm saying is at 2.5 seconds, it's going to have moved 100 units and or 50 units. I'm a little bit fuzzy about that. So now I'm going to right click over here and add one more, and this is where it brings it back. So the time's going to be 5 seconds and the value is going to be 0, and I'm going to press enter. So if I zoom out, and you see there that it shot way up, you can see there that it's starting at 0, going to 100 and then going back to 0 again. So that's that movement up and then down. You can mess with the actual gradient of this, so whether it starts off slow and speeds up, you can do that, but I'm not going to play with that today. Final part of this as well is that I want to set it to looping. I'm actually going to compile save because we have created another window here. So now we've got a couple more things we need to do, and then we're actually done. So making a moving platform, I hope you're finding, is a lot easier than you might have first thought. If I right click here, I need a vector plus vector node, okay? And this confusing little node is going to become way simpler in a second, because instead of using any of these values, we're actually going to use our location. We're going to get our location and attach that to the bottom. We're going to use our timeline to help it with its other locating factor, and then that's actually just taking it down to that, the timeline plus the location, and then we're adding those together. And we're adding those together to set actor location, and we're setting our actor location, and then update. Alright, cool. So then I'm going to compile save. So we've got all their different attributes there. So this is actually identifying what's happening, and this is telling it to happen on our event tick, okay? So now if I minimize this, and this is the real test, and I press play, nothing happens. Alright, so one thing I could do to check this is actually click on this, and we haven't made it movable yet. We could also go over here, and I haven't changed it to my appropriate sprite yet either, that we're then going to have to make bigger, like so. I might make it a bit bigger. Go down, let's double check what the size is looking like. Too big is what I'm seeing. Right, that looks similar to that one. I'm going to save that really quickly. Okay, so now I've made it movable as well, so it should be able to move if I press play. And you can see there that I have my platform moving up and down. So I was a little bit worried because it wasn't actually made as an actor. So right clicking over here and creating a blueprint actor. It was made as an asset, but it seems to work perfectly fine that way. So now we have a couple of these things here, and also another good thing is, if I want stationary platforms, I can go to the move tool. If I hold down Alt, I can make multiples of these, and then the same goes for I might actually just move this a little bit over first. Let's move player over onto a stationary platform, actually down here. So I can have, so this, with all the code attached to it, I can actually move this over here. Actually, I'm not going to do that quickly. Bad practice, okay? Bad practice, because you can see here I've got ledge 14 still. I need to right click on that, and I'm going to change that. I'm going to rename it. So I need to go edit, rename, and you say movable underscore platform. So that way I'm going to know all these platforms are the ones that can actually move. Alright, so that's a lot better practice than what I was doing just before. So I can move this down here, and now I'm going to hold down Alt, and whoa. Hold down Alt, and move this one over. Hold down Alt again. And now when I press play, I should be able to jump. And I have multiple moving platforms. That you can see here, it's not actually possible for me to jump to these other platforms, so I'd have to work a little bit on how far these actually move. So maybe 100 units isn't the appropriate amount for them to use on the timeline, and I can edit that to make that work a little bit better and actually get these going. And or does my jump need to be bigger? So a couple of things that I would need to work out to make this a little bit more effective. But right now, you know how to bring lots of assets in, how to then code in the moving platforms. And I'm not too sure what we're going to be doing in the next video, but hopefully you've enjoyed this video and you can stay tuned for that next one. So thank you for watching, and see ya.